Lion. Of all the big cats, the lion is the one most people picture first, and for good reason. It is the only truly social big cat, living in structured family groups called prides that can number anywhere from a few individuals to over 30 animals. Lions are found primarily across sub-Saharan Africa, with a small and critically endangered population surviving in the Gir forest of northwestern India. The African lion once roamed across Europe, the Middle East, and most of the Asian continent. Today, its range has shrunk to a fraction of what it once was. A fully grown male can weigh over 220 kilograms, and the mane that surrounds his face serves both as protection during fights and as a signal of health and dominance to other lions. Females do the majority of the hunting, working cooperatively to bring down prey far larger than any single cat could manage alone. The lion's roar can be heard from 8 kilometers away and is used to communicate territory, location, and identity within the pride.
Tiger. The tiger is the largest wild cat on Earth and one of the most immediately recognizable animals in existence. Unlike the lion, it is a solitary animal, territorial, secretive, and built for hunting alone in dense vegetation. Tigers are native to Asia, and at various points in history, they ranged from the eastern coast of Turkey all the way to the Russian Far East and the Indonesian islands. Today, 6 subspecies survive, including the Bengal tiger of India and Bangladesh, the Amur tiger of the Russian Far East, and the Sumatran tiger of Indonesia. Each subspecies is adapted to its specific environment. The Amur tiger carrying thicker fur and more body fat to survive Siberian winters, the Sumatran tiger being notably smaller and darker to move through dense tropical forest. Every tiger has a unique stripe pattern as individual as a fingerprint. They are powerful swimmers and, unusually for cats, actively seek water to cool themselves in hot climates.
Leopard. The leopard is perhaps the most adaptable of all the big cats, which is precisely why it has survived longer and across a wider range than almost any other large predator. It is found across sub-Saharan Africa, parts of North Africa, the Middle East, Central Asia, India, and Southeast Asia, a distribution that reflects its extraordinary ability to live in almost any habitat, from dense rainforest to open savanna to mountain terrain to the edges of urban areas. Leopards are solitary and largely nocturnal, relying on stealth rather than speed. What makes them physically exceptional is their strength relative to their size. A leopard regularly hauls prey heavier than itself up into the branches of tall trees, storing the carcass away from lions, hyenas, and other competitors on the ground. Their rosette-patterned coat varies significantly across their range, darker and more densely patterned in forest populations, paler and more widely spaced in arid regions.
Jaguar. The jaguar is the only big cat native to the Americas and the 3rd largest cat in the world after the tiger and the lion. Its range once stretched from the southwestern United States all the way down to the grasslands of Argentina, though today it is largely concentrated in the Amazon basin and the Pantanal wetlands of South America. At first glance, a jaguar can resemble a leopard, but the two animals are built on entirely different principles. The jaguar is stockier, more powerfully muscled, and carries a broader, rounder head. Its rosettes are larger and almost always contain small spots inside them, a detail that distinguishes it from the leopard's simpler rosettes. The jaguar is also unique among big cats in its preferred killing method. Rather than biting the throat or suffocating prey, it bites directly through the skull. This requires an exceptionally powerful jaw, and the jaguar has the strongest bite of any cat relative to its size. It is also highly comfortable in water, actively hunting fish, caiman, and turtles in rivers and wetlands.
Snow leopard. The snow leopard inhabits a world that most large predators never reach. It is found across the mountain ranges of Central and South Asia, the Himalayas, the Karakoram, the Hindu Kush, the Altai, at elevations that regularly exceed 4,000 meters above sea level. Built for this extreme environment in every detail, the snow leopard has large nasal cavities that warm cold air before it reaches the lungs, wide paws that function as snowshoes on steep terrain, and an exceptionally long and thick tail that it uses for balance on rocky slopes and wraps around itself for warmth when resting. Its coat is pale gray and white with dark rosettes, providing near-perfect camouflage against the rocky, snow-dusted landscape it hunts across. Unlike the other big cats, the snow leopard cannot roar. Its voice is limited to a range of softer sounds, including a distinctive puffing call used between individuals. It is so elusive and so rarely observed in the wild that it was once called the ghost of the mountains, and the name has never really stopped fitting.
Cheetah. The cheetah is built around a single, extraordinary capability: speed. It is the fastest land animal on Earth, capable of accelerating from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in approximately 3 seconds, reaching a top speed of around 112 kilometers per hour in short bursts. Everything about the cheetah's body is shaped by this specialization. It is lightly built compared to other big cats, with a deep chest, a flexible spine that compresses and extends like a spring with every stride, and semi-retractable claws that grip the ground like running spikes. Its spotted coat is solid black on a tawny background, not rosettes but individual spots, and its face carries 2 distinctive black tear marks running from the inner corners of the eyes to the mouth. The cheetah hunts by sight rather than smell, usually in daylight, scanning open ground from elevated positions before launching a short, explosive chase. Unlike most other big cats, it cannot roar, producing instead a high-pitched chirping call that sounds startlingly unlike what most people would expect from a large predator.
Puma. The puma holds a geographical record that no other wild cat comes close to matching. It has the largest range of any wildland mammal in the Western Hemisphere, found from the Canadian Yukon in the north all the way down to the southern tip of South America, and across an extraordinary variety of habitats: forest, desert, mountain, swamp, and grassland. It is known by more names than almost any other animal. Puma, cougar, mountain lion, panther, and catamount are all used for the same species in different regions, and there are dozens of indigenous names beyond these. Despite its size, males can exceed 90 kilograms. The puma is not classified as a true big cat in the traditional sense, as it lacks the specialized larynx that produces a roar. It purrs instead, like a domestic cat, though at a volume considerably larger. The puma is a solitary and highly territorial animal, capable of bringing down prey several times its own body weight through ambush rather than pursuit.
Clouded leopard. The clouded leopard occupies a genuinely unusual position in cat taxonomy. It is neither a big cat in the traditional sense, nor a small one, sitting in a genus of its own between the two groups. It is found across Southeast Asia and the eastern Himalayas, preferring dense tropical and subtropical forest, and it is one of the most arboreal of all the cat species, spending significant time in trees and moving through the canopy with agility that most ground-dwelling cats cannot approach. Its most striking feature is its coat, large, irregular, dark-edged blotches on a tawny or gray background, the pattern more cloud-like than spotted or striped. Its canine teeth are the longest of any living cat relative to body size, a proportion that has led some researchers to describe it as the closest living analog to the extinct saber-toothed cats. Despite its name, it is not closely related to the leopard. The two animals simply share a superficial resemblance in their patterning.
Sunda clouded leopard. For most of modern history, genetic analysis established that the population living on the islands of Borneo and Sumatra was sufficiently distinct to constitute an entirely separate species, the Sunda clouded leopard. The two animals are visually similar, which is precisely why the distinction was missed for so long. The Sunda clouded leopard tends to be darker, with smaller cloud markings and more densely packed spots within the blotched pattern. It is found only on Borneo and Sumatra, which makes it one of the most geographically restricted of all the big and medium cats, and one of the most immediately vulnerable to deforestation. Both islands have lost enormous areas of lowland forest over recent decades, and the Sunda clouded leopard is now considered vulnerable, with population trends moving in the wrong direction. It was the discovery of this species that reminded the scientific community how much basic taxonomy about large cats was still unresolved at the start of the 21st century.
Lion, African subspecies variation. Within the African lion, the variation between populations is significant enough that researchers recognize distinct regional groups. The West African lion, found in fragmented pockets across Senegal, Nigeria, and a handful of other countries, is genetically distinct from the more familiar lions of East and Southern Africa and is considered critically endangered, with a total wild population that may be fewer than 400 individuals. The lions of the Kalahari tend to be larger than those further north, likely due to the cooler temperatures and different prey base of the region. Cave lion remains from Europe and Siberia indicate that the prehistoric relatives of today's African lions were larger again, ranging across the northern hemisphere until the end of the last ice age. The Barbary lion of North Africa, once considered the largest of all lion subspecies, was hunted to extinction in the wild in the early 20th century, with the last confirmed wild individual killed in Morocco in 1942.
Indochinese Leopard. The Indochinese leopard is one of the most endangered and least studied of all the leopard subspecies, found across mainland Southeast Asia, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, and the southern regions of China. Habitat loss has been the primary driver of its decline, as the forests across its range have been reduced and fragmented by agriculture, logging, and human settlement over the past century. Camera trap surveys in recent years have produced some of the only reliable population data available for this subspecies, and the numbers are deeply concerning. The Indochinese leopard may now be functionally extinct in Vietnam and much of Cambodia, surviving in meaningful numbers only in a few remaining forest strongholds. It is slightly smaller than the African leopard and generally darker in coloration, with rosettes that are smaller and more densely arranged. The difficulty of studying it in what remains of its dense forest habitat means that basic facts about its population and behavior are still incompletely understood.
Amur leopard. The Amur leopard is the rarest wild cat on Earth. It is found in a small area of the Russian Far East, in the Primorsky Krai region near the borders of China and North Korea, with a small additional population on the Chinese side of the border. At its lowest point in the early 2000s, the wild population was estimated at no more than 30 individuals, a number so small that the species was considered by many conservationists to be functionally beyond saving. Intensive protection efforts, anti-poaching measures, and habitat management have since allowed the population to recover to somewhere between 100 and 120 animals. Still extraordinarily small, but meaningfully larger than the numbers that once seemed to represent a terminal decline. The Amur leopard is adapted to cold climate, carrying a thicker, paler coat than its African relatives and longer legs suited to moving through snow. It is one of the most striking animals on Earth, and one of the clearest demonstrations that targeted conservation, applied with sufficient resources and commitment, can pull a species back from the edge.